Hi folks, and welcome to Mountain Talk here on WMMT. I'm your host, Parker Hobson. So even though they're both no longer with us, two of this region's most well-known banjo players both happened to have birthdays right around now in the calendar. Morgan Sexton and Dock Boggs. So today on Mountain Talk, we'll be honoring both of these highly skilled and incredibly influential local musicians. We'll hear more about Dock Boggs later on, but first today, we head to Letcher County for a visit with traditional banjo master Morgan Sexton. Morgan was born on January 28, 1911, and while he might be now one of the best-known banjo players to have come out of Letcher County, Morgan didn't actually perform in public till near the end of his life. Morgan lived on Bull Creek, and until his nephew, Lee Sexton, introduced him to a larger audience, only his family and neighbors knew just how skilled a musician Morgan was. But by the time he died in 1992, Morgan had received a National Heritage Award from the National Endowment for the Arts, and in just a few short years of performing and recording, he made a lasting impression on American folk music as a whole through the highly skilled and incredibly unique style, sensibility, and feeling he brought to his playing. For the first half of Mountain Talk today, here on what would have been Morgan's 115th birthday, we bring you an audio adaptation of the Appalshop film, Morgan Sexton, Banjo Player from Bull Creek, which was directed by Ian Lewis in 1991. In this piece, you'll hear from Morgan himself and from his nephew, Lee Sexton, who was also a well-known local banjo player. And you'll hear about everything, from Morgan's family's history on his land, to his work in the logwoods and in the mines, and even to the beetles and bugs that were a nuisance to Morgan's corn crops. And of course, we'll hear a whole bunch of Morgan's music. Here's the piece.
Coal, uranium, oil, gas, rock, clay, and everything else, they own it. That goes in with the mineral rights. That's where the people sell the rights right out in under them and don't know it. And it's sold out over there at home. We owned 89 acres, I believe it was. It sold for $900. Give the company all right to come in there and get every strip our land naked. Leave us with nothing but the dirt. The rights to live on it. My sister Hetty, where I learned most of my old-time songs, she stayed at Blackwell a lot, and she'd come back. She'd sit down and go play on the banjo. I wanted to learn so bad. I'd sat down to her knees, buddy. I'd sit there long as she played the banjo. I'd sat there and listen to her and try to sing along with her. Now, I learned a lot of songs that way, to sing along with her and getting my voice in the same tune her voice is in. She took to tuberculosis long, trouble killed her. Pneumonia fever. Yeah. She was 18. Yeah. She was 18. Bitty boy and playing around in the sand. I am a great big boy and think myself a man. And they to fly so high. My true love, she's left me and live up in the sky. My daddy died when I was 7 years old. He left us there. One brother, he married all. The other two there, they stayed there until my mother sold the mental rights. After they got rid of that mental right, they left home then. They left me and my mother and 3 sisters there to do the best we could to make a living. And, well, I was 13 years old then. I quit my school, got me a job with Jimmy Griffey around an old sawmill working 50 cents a day. What I worked for, 50 cents a day. And what little we got there on that, that's what we had to live on. And he had me to drive a team for him. I wasn't big enough. The railroad ties was 8.5 feet long, 7 by 8. I wasn't big enough to lift up one end of them and put them on a wagon. Only way I had to get them up on the wagon, I rolled them up on the wagon, put 7 on the wagon, 7 railroad ties on the wagon with a little old team he had, and I hauled them from up the line fork to Oregon, and I had to roll them off the wagon. Couldn't lift the ends of them. I wasn't big enough to lift the ends of them. That's the way we made a living. I had to quit my school when I was 13 years old. Didn't get no education at all. It was a hard time. And making railroad ties, stays, and a little mining is the only thing that there was any money here in. I had an uncle, his young'un. He raised his family on purely corn. He'd take his corn to the mill, have it ground, bring it back, and then make a big bowl of meal gravy on one end of the table, a big bowl of meal gravy on that end of the table, and 2 big pones of cornbread, and they'd crumble that cornbread into their gravy, and they had that 3 times a day, and he'd raise a family on it. That's how times was now. Sailing on those young old lines, all raining and hailing on the young old line. Your horses cannot travel the stars on midnight. Hello, folks, they don't like me, they say I'm too poor. Hey, old folks don't like me, they say I'm too poor. They say I'm not worthy to enter their door. I work for my money's my own. I work for my money's my own. If the old folk don't like me, just leave me alone. Every year I pick my own seed corn, and that way I have better success on my corn and everything. Now both of it is all good deep-hearted corn, you see. Every bit of good deep-hearted corn. Pretty hard matter to keep corn without them getting into it. Always something like a pester man with a crop from one end to the other. Spring of the year comes, the cutworm, they hit my corn, I'll spray my corn, kill them down. Then here come the bean bugs. The tater bug comes in next. Then I got to fight them till I get rid of all them. And get rid of them, well, here come the bean bugs in, eat my beans up. Then as they get through, then here comes them our Japanese beetles, and they last up to about the middle of August. I say about middle of August. And we'll go out here and chop up some corn. Press said, by dog, said, they're just making some banjo. I said, what we got to make them out of, Press? He said, that's just an old 8-pound lard bucket, cut the head out of it. So I went there and I stole 2 of my mother's lard buckets, 8-pound lard buckets. We cut the bottom out of them. Down here was our neck put in there, and went to store them all some strings. And, well, when it come the next play, around the set, some of them said, we ain't got no banjo. Press said, by dog, said, me and Morgan got some. He called me Pete then.
Yeah.
I went with the name of Pete. I said, well, that is just fine. Well, when it started up, I got on one side of the room, and Press on the other side, and we started out on them old 10-bucket bangers. We couldn't play the song, we just beating and thumbing on them.
Yeah.
Back then, people didn't carry it out for fun anyway. I remember last working ever I went to is Len's Holcomb, right in the head of Long Brain. He had a top cutting, and cutting the top down. Back then, people tended 8 or 9 acres. They didn't tend to 3 or 4 acres. They tended 8 or 9 acres, and they made it with a hoe and plow, a mule.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a top cutting. He had a big lot of homebrew sitting right in the back of the field. He said, boy, he said, now when we get to the backside, he said, we'll let in on that homebrew. Nobody didn't know where it was at. We're no use to hunt first. When the old people hid anything then, it was hid.
Yes, sir.
And man, everybody worked like fighting fire. He got his tops all cut and got them all tied up and bunched up. That was about 3 o'clock in the evening. He said, now, fellas, get up there and get in this homebrew. Went up there, he had about 10 gallons of homebrew. I don't know, it must have been 15, 20 of us. But we left there weren't much homebrew left. He said, our boy said when we eat supper, said, we'll roll the rugs back. Well, we didn't have no rugs then, that was the old saying is. Said, we'll roll the rugs back, we'll dance tonight. Steve Camel, Babe Camel, Murray Camel, Ritter Camel, and Curry Camel. They was all there. Now you talking about somebody can dance.
Yeah.
Now boy, they danced that night. They run sets all night and danced all night that night.
Well, they could sure get it now.
Hey, we used to have a good time like that. Then I down and ordered that banjo. And I've had it ever since. It wasn't ringing banjo yet.
Yes, sir. That's a good ringing banjo.
Be a cheap banjo.
I finally learned that old tune, Whiskey for Breakfast.
Did you?
Yeah, that's a good one, buddy.
A lot picked me up one the other night, fooling around with the banjo, and I never have been able to. It was in tune of hook and line, and I never have been able to catch a chord to it back in the morning.
First number we're going to do now is an old timer, an old dance tune called Hook and Line now. He worked in Bull Creek in the log woods, and he stayed with my daddy over here. On the weekend, my grandma, his mother, she would come down and have his banjo, that old banjo he's got. I'd see her a-coming, and I was wanting to hold that banjo, and I'd start running up through that field over there, and I'd say, here, Grandma, give me that banjo. She'd say, get away, now, you'll drop that banjo now, get away, and gee, I'd get so mad I'd nearly die, but she'd finally break down and let me have it. My dad was a banjo player, and his dad, my grandfather, he played a banjo and a fiddle too, you know. Now, Uncle Morgan had, he had 2 more brothers besides Dad, Colbert and Harrod, and both of them played banjos. They could play now too. And it's just been a circling around, I guess, for 100 years. I guess it just goes right on, you know.
Say go, my little love, say go on down. Say go, my little love, I'm down to Harlem town. Are you my home true love? Are you my dear? Are you my home true love? I'm gonna leave you here. Appalshop town. Hand me down my shawl, hand me down home like I'm gonna leave you all. Fare you well, my home to love. Fare you well, my dear. Fare you well, my home to love. I'm gonna hate to leave you here.
Whenever he'd load coal, he'd shove it in a pile of coal. Whenever he'd come with it, it'd be a rolling off each side of that shovel, buddy, all day long. And he'd walk from where he lives out the mouth of Bull Creek there and hit 0 weather. And he'd come to work early every morning with a carbide light on his head, you know. And his britchy legs would be froze into ice, buddy. Just about froze to death.
Boss come up in there, said, "Ain't you gonna work that room down there?" I said, "No, I absolutely not working that room down there." He said, "Why?" I said, "It's dangerous." I said, "And I'm in here by myself," and I said, "I won't work it." And I said, "I've got good top up here." He said, "Now, this room has got to be worked." I said, "Now, Red, Mr. the boss," I said, "Red, I absolutely am not working that room now." He said, "Well, if I send a fellow over here with you, will you go down there and work it?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I went down in there, and I was working on the right-hand side, and the other fellow was working on the left-hand side. Well, they sent this fellow now, he said, "I sure can't shovel coal right-handed." He said, "I have to go around and shove it left-handed." Well, he go around, he's throwing it cross-handed. I took his side over here then, and I had my side over here where I did work, timbered up good. This fellow way behind me, this timber. I sawed them timbers up, that close up where I was working, and I'd sawed that timber out under the big edge of a kettle bottom. Now I couldn't see it the way they set in the roof. I moved 2 shovelfuls of rock. That big kettle bottom dropped out. And all it saved me, where they shot some rock down in the front, and I sawed that timber so tight, they said it cut a big groove right down inside that timber. And I heard the fellow holler, and he tried to lift it up off of me, and he couldn't. And I said, "Lift it a little higher," and he let it down. When he got a new hole, when he let down, all my sense left, and I didn't know nothing then. He said I crawled out on that rock by myself. And the rock weighed, they said, it weighed 5 tons. It was 5 foot one way, 5.5 the other way. And all it saved me, where the edge of it caught on that rock where I shot down, and the timber I shot, it was kind of resting on the hit. It broke my chest all up, cut big holes in my face and everything. Well, after off there then, I stayed out of the mines a year. And after I got well, I went right back to them again. And if I was able today, wasn't amazed, I'd go back to them today. I like working in mines. I worked, didn't have no union. You went in the mines, you worked your 10 hours. You had to clean your place up or pack your tools and get out of there. And you had to do everything the boss man told you to. If you didn't do it, he would fire you. And they would make you work like brutes. They didn't care where they'd send you under a bad top in a big water hole, you had to go or quit one to other. It was what I call pure slavery work. Well, when the union come in, they took the people out from under that slavery. You worked, but you didn't have slaving work, and they couldn't shove you in dangerous places where you didn't want to go. There had been a man in a mine. The boss man shoved them under a bad top, and they got killed, top fall in on them, get killed. And as they got the union in, well, they had to have a timber man, they had to have a safety man, go in and check your top before you went in under it. That saved a man in a man's life. In '33, I completely quit playing the banjo. Everything I had to do was hard on my hand, loading coal, drilling and shooting coal. You had to grip that drill as hard as you could grip it. Well, that took all the strength in the earth out of your hand. You had to be ready for that drill. If it hung, he'd really get loose from you. He'd beat you to death and break your arm or hand or something or other. You had to stay with it. Well, loading coal, you had to grip that shovel handle tight, and working in the logwoods in here, rolling logs with them big can hook handle, you had to grip them tight enough. Everything you went out chopping, you had to grip that axe handle tight enough, keeping it flying out of your hand, hurting somebody with it. Well, that just run into my hand, got them stiff, and you couldn't play. Didn't stay limber or nothing. Every now and then I'd pick it up and start tuning to it, and got where I didn't want to sing, didn't want to play. And then after I retired in, as I said, I picked it back up in again.
When he come to see me, he'd play the banjo all the time.
Was that part of his courting you?
Yeah, I reckon it was. I always like all the tunes he plays. That new song that he's learned, and
Fire come miss working in the garden.
and what's that other that I like?
Orphan Girl.
Little Orphan Girl.
That's her two favorite tunes. I play them pretty well all the time when I pick the banjo up.
Oh, yeah, I learned that hook and line from him. Yeah, a lot of tunes. Chickens crow in the sour of the mountain. Yeah, buddy, now he's good on that. Plays it better than I do, though.
Now, if I was singing a high-toned song, seemed like I just have to come from the bottom of my belly on up through here, a straining song too, and to get it out. But there's lots of songs I was singing, just saying this from my neck on out, I was singing pretty well. But them high-toned songs, though, boy, you just got to get way down in here to get them to come out right for you. When they got me up on the stage here, I was pretty jittery, like anybody would. Nervous and everything. I hope I perform on it pretty good this time. did well, his little boy, I was so well. He courted me, my heart, away, and then with me, while he would not stay. Her was a girl that same town. He courted her, oh, he sought her down. He sought her down the bar, and he went and told her what he wouldn't tell me. I don't know reason why unless he got a more golden eye. Her golden milk and sugar will fly, and I hope someday she be for his eye. It was late in the day when the puppy came home. Well, I wanted to know where his daughter had gone. He went upstairs door. He spoke, oh, saw her hanging by a rope. He took his knife, he cut her down upon the breast, the words he found. Goldie, my grave was white, and deep as marble stone, hammerhead and feet. Upon my breast, the lily, why done to show the world how I died for love. And around my grave below, and to show the world how I had no sin. Thank everyone ever so much. I hope you enjoyed the playing.
You've been listening to an audio adaptation of the 1991 Appalshop film, Morgan Sexton, Banjo Player from Bull Creek, directed by Ann Lewis. To see several clips of Morgan playing and talking about his music, check out the Appalshop Archives YouTube page. We're going to take a quick break here to hear from some folks who make community radio possible, but stay tuned for more Mountain Talk after the break. Welcome back to Mountain Talk here on WMMT. I'm Parker Hobson. This week on the show, we're honoring two well-known local banjo players who were both born right around now in the calendar. This next week would be the birthday of the great Dock Boggs, who was born February 7th, 1898 in Norton, Virginia. And while Dock worked most of his life as a coal miner, he was well known across the region as a musician in his younger days, and he made several recordings in the early days of the record business in the 1920s, which sold well here in the area. But after the Depression cratered the economy and dragged down his music career, Dock stepped back from performing, even going so far as to pawn his banjo. but after being quote-unquote rediscovered during the folk music revival of the 1960s, Dock enjoyed renown across the country in his later days as a skilled and one-of-a-kind banjo player, whose unique sound merged some of the different influences that Dock was exposed to in growing up in Wise County. In particular, his style owed much to the influence of local black musicians, like the Wise County guitar players Jim White and Go Lightning. In 1982, Appalshop's Headwaters TV show produced a half-hour tribute to Dock Boggs, which included interviews with family members, as well as with the musician Jack Wright and the musician and folklorist Mike Seeger. Up next on Mountain Talk, in honor of Dock, we bring you clips from that show, which was produced by Paul Congo and Melinda Talbert.
The things that went into making his music were blended so perfectly that nothing seemed raw or like it was sticking out at the edges some way. It just went together in perfect piece, whatever he was doing.
Well, he was good to anybody. Like I said, if you had a dime, you said, "Doc, I need that." He'd say, "Well, here, take it."
Like I said, he's a live wire. He got around. He got around. Everybody liked him. I mean, he was a life of a party, more or less. I mean,
he was a big, tall man and somewhat of a rounder. So he drank a bit and fought a bit, and he would whip somebody one minute and then drink a beer with them the next minute. That's the kind of person he was. If somebody crossed him, he would put them in their place, but he didn't hold a grudge.
There's a hill lone and gray in the land far away, in the country beyond the blue sea, where beneath that fair sky when the man for to die, for the world and for you and for me.
Well, when I was real young, my parents had a copy of one of the old 78 records that Dock Boggs made, and it was a very striking sound, one that really set him apart from any of the other banjo player and singers. And for years when I would meet old-time musicians like Pop Stoneman or people like that, I'd ask him if he ever heard of Dock Boggs, and nobody ever heard of him. And then Gus Mead, a fellow collector and musician, who lived in Ohio, met a guy out there who said, "Yes, I knew Dock Boggs. He was in Mayking, Kentucky." And we were very intrigued because we were a lot of us who were involved in that in the late 50s and early 60s were trying to find him. So I went down to Mayking on a trip on the way back from California with my wife and 3 children, little babes. And we started our little road up through Mayking. We hit Eolia first, which happened to be his wife, Sarah's hometown. And they said, "Oh, yes, he lives up in Neon." So we went up to Neon in Kentucky and met a couple of taxi drivers on a Saturday afternoon, I think it was, hanging out on the street corner. They said, "Oh, yeah, I know Dock Boggs." And then we launched into a talk on how Dock Boggs played. He sang and played the melody at the same time, which was a very important thing in old-time music, And they sent me over to another relative of Dock Boggs, and eventually I found my way over to Norton and had no idea of what to do when I got to Norton. No leads, and it was after all the stores and post offices closed. And my wife said, "Well, why don't you look in the phone book?" Looked in the phone book, and there was D-O-C-K, Dock Boggs. And he said it'd be okay if I come over. And when I went over there, he was just disbelieving, and I was disbelieving too, because this was a legend type person to me, you see. He was from another world practically. And we just were very hesitant with one another. He was afraid, I think, that I had come to steal some of his songs, you know, and copyright them because somebody had tried to do that a year or so before. And so he'd only play me a little bit of each song. And I knew what was happening. And he talked to me about his life very openly. He apologized about being so back-offish later. He knew that he was kind of holding back, you know. Well, I said, well, how'd you like to make a record? Or how'd you like to be on a folk festival and play some programs? He said, I'd like it fine.
Doc, at about the age of 13 or 15 or something like that, he saw this black minstrel man come through the coal camps where he was living. And he must have played for a house party or something like that. And he played blues on the banjo, and it really affected Doc. It was like the musician that affected him, and he learned to play blues and developed his own unique style of picking the banjo and singing blues, which he became very noted for, maybe more in the bigger cities than even around here. He was quite well known for those early recordings on the Brunswick label.
Well, in the 20s, in 27, a talent scout from Brunswick Records came through town, let it be known that he was looking for mountain musicians to record, and a bunch of people went down. He just happened to go down too, and they wanted him because they recognized that he was unusual. And so after they told him that they wanted to do it, he was going to go up with John Dykes, who's an old-time fiddle player, and his band from Kingsport. And he went down, I remember he told me, he went down to the local clothier and said, now I want something to wear so that I don't look like a hillbilly, but I want something that makes me look, you know, decent, you know. And he got himself ready in a very orderly way to go to New York and be you know, a very upstanding looking person. He always dressed well when he wanted to, you know. Well, he always dressed well, period. Looked like a banker, you know, just, he knew just how to me, you know, he had his hat just done right, you know, and a good suit, you know, conservative suit, you know, and good luggage and a good banjo, that Gibson banjo, you know. It's as good as you could buy, then or now.
I'm Bruce Sunsucker. I'm Dock Boggs' nephew, and he has one other nephew, my brother, John. And he sold my brother his first banjo, John. In fact, I think he taught him how to play.
Station, gonna catch a fastest train that goes. I'm a-going back south where the weather suits my clothes. I'm going back south if I wear a 99 pair of shoes, 'cause I'm broken hearted. I've got those down south blues. I was reared in a country where the snow it never fell. I'm a-going back south if I don't do so well. Oh, my mama told me, and my daddy told me too, don't you go off, honey, let those men make a fool out of you. At
a time when I was sort of searching for ways to go musically. He influenced me and showed me things in music that I'd never felt before. Like he taught me. He didn't teach me directly to play music, and I didn't copy his style per se, but he really influenced me more because of his feeling, his blues, his deep emotion that he had in his music. That really influenced me and affected me. It was like more than his technique or anything. The way that he felt towards his life and how that came out in his music turned me on and made me want to become a better musician myself. He left this country here in Wise County because of a spat that he had with a local deputy or some sort of constable or something. I think he had a few people over and they had music in his house, and it got to be a pretty popular place in the neighborhood, in the community there where he was living at the time in Wise County, and a lot of people would come over and they'd play music and drink a little bit. Well, at that time it was against the law to drink in Wise County, and or sell beer or have beer without a license or whatever they were drinking. I don't know. Doc just vaguely told me this story. And somehow he got in an argument with this deputy who wanted to take him to jail, and he just whipped the deputy. And but he didn't want to go to jail because he felt like he was having a good time in his house, and he could have friends over and play music and have a drink, and there was nothing wrong with that. But this deputy was sort of a bad man, and he decided he'd take Doc to jail, and Doc ended up whipping him. And then he had to leave the county because they were going to come and really take him away and maybe give him some time in jail because he'd whipped a deputy. So Doc moved to Letcher County and lived for several years until this deputy later got killed by another man. He got shot for some of the same problems. He was a notorious troublemaker and somewhat of a bad man himself. But anyway, Doc wrote a song about that. It's called Hard Times in the Wise County Jail.
Wash up your face, boys, come up your head. Now get ready for your coffee and bread. Hard times in the Wise County Jail, it's hard times, I know. Piece of cold meat and cold cornbread, it's so cold it's heavy as lead. Hard times in the Wise County Jail, it's hard times, I know. We are in jail and it's so complete, about one half enough to eat. Hard times in the Wise County Jail, it's hard times, I know. Almost makes my stomach ache when they bring the potatoes in the old tin plate. It's hard times in the Wise County Jail, hard times, I know. We're in jail and it is so nice, amongst the dirt and the body lies. Hard times in the Wise County Jail, it's hard times, I know. Wise County Jail, no jail at all. The changes and bugs are walking the wall. Hard times in the Wise County Jail, it's hard times, I know. Almost brings me to my knees when I hear that jailer ring them keys. It's hard times in the Wise County Jail, hard times, I know. Officers around Norton, the dirty old crew, they'll arrest a poor man, they'll look it plumb through. His pockets they'll pick, his clothes they'll sell. 25 cents they'd send him to hell. It's hard time, the Wise County Jail, it's hard time, I know.
Doc said that he gradually stopped playing in the 30s, or at least he pawned his banjo. I don't think he'd mind if I say that. And I met a woman up in Pennsylvania who said it was her father or grandfather that had gotten Doc to pawn the banjo with him so he could get Doc stopped on playing those old kind of blues songs, you know, because he was a preacher, he was a minister, you know, one of the more conservative ministers, you know. And so Doc didn't have a banjo, but he had about 1961 or 62, you know, when he was full retirement age, he decided to go back and get his banjo, and start playing again, like a number of people do when they get retired. They want to go back to the things that were pleasurable to them in their teen days before they started raising a family and doing all the things you do get involved with when you're in your 20s and 30s, 40s, you know.
I think he knew inside himself somehow that music was going to come out and be a big part in his life again. I think he felt that. And yet for a long time after he joined the church, he didn't play. For a long time, I think Sarah felt, as so many of our old-time people in the mountains do feel, and especially used to feel, that when you join the church and are baptized that you sing only hymns. And of course Doc's mind and heart and voice was not limited to Sundays. He sang about everything. Music was life. To him, life was music. And it was just so long that could be kept down. He gave his banjo away to a man for years and years. And then when he retired from the mines, he thought about, and did go get it and start playing again. But there was no way Doc could have been kept away from music. I think it's interesting that at the time, Mike Seeger helped bring him to the notice of so many people outside the mountains that Doc had already begun. Just as though he knew that the time was coming. He'd already begun to play and sing again. So he was ready when it came.
When Doc made those first Brunswick records, he used an old mail-order banjo that he had, a Sears Roebuck banjo, and it was a real nice banjo for that style of music. But I guess he felt like he wanted to get something more professional. So he got a Gibson Mastertone, this Gibson Mastertone right here in 1928. And that's what he used after that time. In fact, you can hear it on those Lonesome Ace records that he made in 1929. And he made all of his recordings in the 60s with this very same banjo here. A very nice arch-top Gibson Mastertone. Let's see, I'd like to do a little bit of Bright Sunny South for you. This is one of my favorite of Doc's songs.
The bright sunny South in peace and content. Oh, the days of my childhood I scarcely had spent. From the deep flowing springs to the broad flowing stream, ever dear in my memory and sweet is my dream. I leave my confinement and comfort of life for the danger of bloodshed, provision, and strife. I come to conclude and reply with my word as I shoulder my musket and billet my sword.
Sunny South. Real unusual, nice song. Doc played some breakdowns, and I'd like to do one of those for you. This is another odd tuning. Doc always tuned his banjo about 2 notes low, 2 frets low, so to fit his voice better, you know. At least in the later years he did that.
Okay, Davenport. Play it a lot these days, and just kind of comment, maybe talk a little bit about Doc. As I'm playing the tune, you know, talk about Doc and maybe just make some comments about it. It's not a real fancy tune, but it has a nice feeling to it, you know. It feels great to play it. Of course, part of it is that I remember Doc playing it too, you know.
You called me trouble woman and you called me to kill a man. Called me trouble and you called me to kill a man. Oh, now I'm in the jailhouse, got to do the best I can, best can. Oh, it's hard to be in trouble and all bound down in jail. Hard to be in trouble and all bound down in jail. All your friends done forsake you and no one to go. You bail, go, you bail. Going away now, woman, and I'm going away for a spell. But to leave my wife and babies, I'd rather be in hell.
Doc once told me the story about his dad and him raising him, and he said, Daddy warned me about tobacco, but he never said a thing about alcohol. And so Doc did drink some alcohol, and he went overboard with it at times, and I've seen him when he was like that, and he would be incredibly hilarious at times, and then he'd also get real worried about the flames of hell at other times. Doc was a deep person, and he had troubles, like a lot of us do, you know. And during the time when he played music, he did some bootlegging at times, running and making it as well. And I think he realized, his wife helped him realize, and also he had a run-in with the law a couple of times, though he never pulled time. Like a lot of us, he said, you know, if he'd been caught, he could have done it. We've all been that way. I think he felt that he needed to give that up, and he did set his banjo aside in the 30s and 40s. In fact, for a little while he tried to get out of the mines, but he just didn't like it. He was a laundry delivery person for a little while, and it just didn't work with him, you know. He went back in the mines.
So the last time I visited Doc, he was so sick that he really couldn't play anymore. His nerves were shot, and he wasn't very steady. But he still had a lot of courage, and he knew that he was going to die soon. And he just told me one day, you know, he said, I've lived a good life, and I'm not afraid of death. And then he sang this song that he had recorded many years earlier that he had adapted from an old black spiritual called "Oh Death."
What is it that I can see with icy hands taking hold on me? I am death and none can exhale. I'll open the door to heaven or hell. Oh death, can't you spare me over till another year? Oh death, please spare me over till another year. Oh death, someone.
That was the last song I ever heard him sing. He sang it without his banjo. Just sang it unaccompanied, and it was really just turned chill bumps up on me. It was just really moving because it was like hear a man who'd lived his life, a real rugged, full life, lived to be about 70, 71 years old. And here he was saying, you know, this is it. I'm ready to die, and I'm not afraid, is what he told me. It was really moving. So I learned the tune.
We have met in due time. I will ask you a question, I hope it's no crime. Come and set yourself beside me so long as you stay. So fare you well, Nancy, I'm going away. Go put up your horses and feed them some hay. So fare you well, Nancy, I'll drive on my way.
You've been hearing clips from a 1982 film about local banjo player Dock Boggs, which was produced by Paul Congo and Melinda Talbert for Appalshop's former TV show, Headwaters. To see the whole film for yourself, you can head to appalshoparchive.org. And that's it for Mountain Talk today. Thanks so much for listening. For WMMT, I'm Parker Hobson.